What's up, everybody? Good evening. The barn coming to you for a casual evening chat. I'm Micah in Milwaukee. Cloudy and sad Milwaukee today, but we're here with the Mox, and from one icy region to another for once. How's it going tonight?
It's going good. I left my house for the first time yesterday, I think in 6 days, and
6 days.
that's not an exaggeration.
Are there still are the roads still covered?
The main ones are pretty good, pretty clear. The back and country roads are still definitely an issue.
How's your driveway? What'd you do about your driveway? Just
It
drove
sucks.
over it a
Yeah,
few times?
yeah, it sucks. I mean, we tore it up on the sledding. I mean, if you
Yeah.
follow me on my Facebook, you know that
Yeah, you
already.
guys really did.
Yeah.
So it was mostly ice and it snowed on top of it. Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, we got double whammy, man. We got hit with ice first and we lost power. We had to go to spend the night at my mom's, which I haven't slept in
Oh, no
my
kidding.
childhood home in 20 years,
Did you sleep
maybe.
in that bedroom in the basement?
No, no. Slept on the couch, which was not very comfortable,
Uh,
but we actually had kind of had fun with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's wild. You guys don't get many of those, and I remember that every time it happens, it's a big deal. But I mean, we get tons of snow up here. There's some on the ground right now, but we don't usually get the ice because we're not on, those borderlines of being warm and cold where you just
Yeah.
get all that ice. So that sucks, man. That sucks.
Yeah, and you know how it is like the ice is way worse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can have four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, doesn't matter.
I will
Still
say this,
hard to get around.
we it didn't stop us from sledding. If there's like two snowflakes we see fall outside, we're just tearing up the yard.
Yeah. You guys had a good one this time though too. It reminded me of you're like the dad that intentionally throws his kids off the water tube, on the lake, that's total dad move. And that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
You're throwing them off the sleds.
Yeah,
Just
sometimes
laughing.
yeah, like I get a little bit of mix of both of like, you're the best dad ever. You must be so fun to be a dad, and then like, I don't think you should be doing that. It's a little bit of both of those.
Borderline. Well, you got
And
it.
those are from my kids. Like, I don't think you should be doing this.
How did you have the camera set up? Did you have it on a selfie stick?
Yeah, so I was just kind of like holding it out as far as I could, which is probably also not safe. There's like trees in our backyard, so
Yeah.
but
That's a cool video. Go check it out. It's on his page. It's on your page, right?
yeah, yeah,
Reels from winter break.
we love that stuff, man. We kind of live for that stuff. Snow days. My wife's a teacher, and obviously my girls go to school. So anytime we get a snow day, you can typically find us outside at least a little bit.
So
We hit every day. We win every day.
my parents are former teachers. My sister is a current teacher. She's third grade now. What's Sarah? First grade?
Sarah is first grade.
Okay. And my sister is done first grade. Anyway, they were talking about over Christmas when I was down there visiting that snow days were going to be like you still had to do homework at home. And that way you
Yeah,
didn't have to do a makeup day. Is that a thing? Is that an official thing or is that what is that?
yeah, it is, and we kind of push back quite a bit on that. So they call them AMI days, alternative methods of instruction. So, and I
Okay.
don't mind it because I mean, you don't want to cut into your summer either because we have a lot of fun
Right.
in the summertime too. So I don't really mind it, but man, we love those snow days so much. It's hard to like, okay, now let's sit down and do the homework. So we kind of make fun of it. Some of my posts was making fun of it. Like today, we learned how to finance, and we learned a lot about math when we played Monopoly. That's our AMI
Yeah.
lesson for today. So
So what do they assign? Is it just like an hour's worth of something, or would it take longer than that?
yeah, it's not much. I
It's
think
nothing crazy.
it's a funding thing. You know how funding's attached to attendance and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that. So
So as long as you do it, yeah, because I think that's what they were saying. Like, say you just didn't do it, you're counted absent for that day, right?
yeah, and we gave our girls the choices like, do you want to do it? And they chose to do it. But I wasn't going to push it because, like I said, we were having more fun than anything.
Yeah. I mean,
That
snow
takes,
days.
yeah,
Like,
snow day, man. Like, tear up
yeah,
some
that
snow
goes
day.
that goes back to, I mean, there's just something about a snow day. And I'm sure the same goes for teachers. There's nothing
Oh,
like an
yeah.
unexpected day off, especially one you can like go out and play in. So to have to do a
Oh, for
little bit of
sure.
homework kind of sucks, but I get it. I mean, if you can count that as a whole day and knock something out in an hour in the evening or whatever, then
Oh,
yeah,
dude, my wife's a teacher. I have plenty of friends that are teachers. They follow the weather closer than the kids do.
got the throwing the
They,
weather app on their phones the night before.
I know some teachers would be like, "Hey, we're going to get a snow day in 4 weeks." And I'm like, "What are you following? The Farmer's Almanac or something?"
Yeah,
Like,
let's
how do
book
you
your
know?
cabin because Friday, February 1st.
We got this high pressure system right now in Asia, and it's going to work its way around. It's like I don't think that's how it works.
Jeez, that's hilarious. So you were at home for a while, and that led you on a trip to Wendy's at some point. I've got to hear that. Got to hear that story.
Yeah, so you know how small town life is, right? Like if we get anything new, it's a big deal. And we kind of like to have fun with that. We did a live stream. The Chick-fil-A thing was crazy. And we got a new
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A, I don't know, a couple months ago, a month ago. I don't know
yeah.
how long it was.
Farmington did, right?
And we live streamed it the very first day. And we were one of the first ones. I mean, no, I say that. I mean, some people actually slept out in the cold, and it's pretty chilly.
They
Slept out
really
in the
did.
cold. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow.
And like you can go Chick-fil-A, like it's a 30-mile drive to get some. So I don't know. I think it was sort of the fun of it. But anyway, you know how small town life is. You get something
Sure.
new, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, Chick-fil-A and then Wendy's kind of started their construction around the same time and
So the
we
Wendy's is new, also.
yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. And this is also in Farmington.
Yes. So we did a live stream of our wait and the the car line
Yeah.
the first day that Chick-fil-A opened. And I ran into somebody that we go to church with, and she's like, I love that live stream because it helped me understand when I needed to kind of go or not go or
How to
whatever.
do it? Yeah, yeah.
And we like to have fun with it. We were just kind of poking fun of like, this is small town life and people just eat this stuff up when you could just literally drive a few miles and still get the same thing. So we were having fun with it. And so then Wendy's was supposed to and open today to the public. Okay.
Okay.
Me and my middle child, we were sitting around yesterday evening, bored. We didn't have anything going on. Everybody else was at volleyball practice and elsewhere. And I just see on Facebook, all I see is big caps. Wendy's is open. And I was like, let's go. Let's go. Because they've been wanting to eat it and have it. And we're happy to have it back in our small town. Just more options, the better, right? So I probably should have read a little bit more into it. Once I seen that, me and her just hopped in the car and was like, we got to live stream this like we did Chick-fil-A thing. Well, apparently they did sort of like a soft open just to kind of get some practice, but it was only for like employees and their families,
Hmm.
and we didn't know that. So we found that out the hard way.
So that's when you showed up, was during the soft open?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
in the drive-through, and I placed like an order, it was for the whole family. Like, okay, give me 5 burgers and 5 fries and some
Yeah, yeah.
milkshakes and whatever. And she's just as confused, I think, as I am. So she's like, we only have this and we only have that. And I'm like, okay, just give me whatever. I don't care. Give me whatever. So we'll get up there to pay. And she's like, you had the 2 iced teas and this and this and this. I was like, that's not my order at all. I think that's somebody behind me. And she's like, no, we checked. That's what you got. And I go, all right. And then she hands us the bag, and I have my card out ready to pay for this food that I didn't
Oh,
order, but
right. Yeah.
we didn't care what it was. And she's like, have a good day. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. And again, come to find out, we weren't supposed to be there. It wasn't open to the public
Yeah.
yet, but we got free food, and
There was
it
there
was
was
pretty
no
good.
sign at the beginning of the drive-through. I mean, if a drive-through looks open, they had to expect people were going to jump into it, right?
I'm sure I wasn't the only one that pulled in and
Yeah. It's
said,
not like you were trying to take advantage of it or something like you didn't
yeah,
know.
yeah. So then after work today, it was the officially open to the public today. So we kind of sneaked in there and got a little free food, but I was on my way home and I had to pass by Wendy's and the line was really long. So
Wow. So
kind of made a new video about it. So we
there's
tagged
no
we tagged Wendy's in this, by the way. And Wendy's,
Wendy's.
do you
Wendy's
ever
is good.
see
Yeah.
Wendy's social media? They like respond a lot of times, and they tag
Yeah.
bands, and they make fun of bands, and they make fun of other people.
I wonder if the Farmington one has its own account where they're free to do kind of the same thing.
I don't
But I
know.
get what you're saying. The main account's pretty hilarious. They'll like
It
reply to
is.
Burger King and whatever, make fun of them.
Yeah,
So
it's a good follow.
there was no Wendy's in Deloge, or man, it seemed like there was one somewhere.
There
No,
was one in Farmington, I think, for a while.
oh, then it closed, and I wouldn't even know where it was. Where's the new one?
On Karsh by
Everything's on Karsh. I feel like.
yeah, uh, by McDonald's.
Culver's is
Yeah,
over.
yeah, kind of in between Culver's and McDonald's.
Okay, so down over the hill or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, we got a couple people in the comments. What's up, Travis? East of Elvin's podcast. What's up, Kyle? Die Cut Dudes. Check those guys out.
Yeah,
Big
for sure,
friends of ours.
for sure. And Dirty Right Rear looks like they've been doing some really good things too. Hopefully, people been keeping their eyes on them.
Jeremy and Jeremy.
Those guys know their shit.
Yeah, me and Jeremy Sutton. There's two Jeremys, which is going to make it difficult at some point, probably. But me and Jeremy Sutton had a conference call 2 days ago because you know this better than anybody. We're in the middle of sort of media credential season,
Yep. Oh yeah.
right? Especially the basketball stuff, and you got to sort of plan things out pretty far in advance. And I wanted to see, especially because of all the basketball stuff we do in the spring, how that might affect some of our travel with, because I want to catch a lot of races this spring and summer. So I started kind of planning ahead as far as what our schedule is going to be. You want to talk about that?
What? Just like
I know
basketball
nothing's
stuff coming up,
official.
or?
Yeah, I know nothing's official yet, but
Yeah, I
what we're
mean,
looking to do.
yeah, last year we were lucky enough to cover the NCAA tournament in Indianapolis. Still don't know how we got in there, and got
Last
the
year was
access that we
insane.
did. We not only do we get in there, we're sitting, courtside and everything. So obviously the goal is to do that again. I just received an email, man, that was just a few days ago, and you and I have both already sent emails out. I sent one out today, just to get some more info on like the fan sided and things like that. But yeah, I mean, we received contact what is today? Today, yeah, early this week, Monday, I think it
Thursday.
was. Yeah. So, and it feels nice, like I told you, we're in a spot now where we don't have to hunt that stuff down. Like it's coming to us. We're on distribution lists. You've been talking a lot about that lately, but to already be in the loop and in the portals and in the media world, you start getting emails, and Monday, that's what we got. Like, hey, I got the one for Pfizer here in Milwaukee. If you're interested in covering this, here's, link to the submission forms, registration, all of that stuff. And you're already on the list because you've already been. So that's really starting up. I don't know if I don't think I'll make any conference tournaments. You may. Missouri Valley's there in St. Louis, Missouri Valley Conference. So I don't know if you've even thought about that one yet.
Yeah, so I have my plan. I think if we get approved for what we've requested and what we ask for, one, we don't know. I mean, obviously, you cover Marquette
Yep.
almost every game,
Yeah,
right?
pretty extensively. Yeah.
And I'm pretty familiar with Marquette too. I mean, this is sort of the team that,
Got us in the door, really.
yeah, kind of, right? I mean, we did some other smaller stuff before that, but it was really Marquette and your connection with them up there that was really helpful in making last year happen. Last year was insane.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll go that hard as the way I did last year because me and you and Zach went to Indianapolis. We saw the number one seed, Purdue, just dominate,
I saw
right?
Purdue was in the same bracket as Marquette. Yeah. Or in the same location.
Yeah. And then me and my family went to Memphis, went to the OVC tournament,
Yep.
and then the Missouri Valley tournament, Arch Madness in St. Louis. So it was a lot last year. So I don't think we're going to go that hard. At least me, anyway. I'm not going to go that hard.
Yeah.
But I would say the closest one to us this year, to us down here, is probably Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, as far as opening rounds, first and second rounds, I think Lexington's the closest. Obviously, there's one right here in Milwaukee where I'm at. I'm going to more than likely follow Marquette wherever they go. Scott, who's their head media director. I've gotten to have a really, really good relationship with him, so I should have a seat wherever they go. I just hope it's not too far. They are the host school for the opening rounds up here. If you're a host school, you're not allowed to play in that location, obviously, because it'd be home games. So we'll probably leave Zach up here to cover opening rounds at Pfizer here in downtown Milwaukee. I know you had entertained the fact of maybe coming up for it, but we'll just kind of see. And then who knows where I end up. Maybe I end up in Lexington. I don't know. I think there's another opening round in Omaha. Not like that's super close. It's like 8 hours from here. But yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. And college basketball getting really, really good too. Right as football's winding down here, college basketball starts picking up. There are a couple great games this week. Mizzou beat Florida barely.
Yeah.
They were up by
Yeah.
like 17 the second half, ended up only winning by 2. But I think Mizzou can make the tournament this year, so that's exciting for you guys down there because
Yeah,
they're like
absolutely.
14-3 now, I think, and they beat Kansas and Florida.
Yeah, that Kansas thing was crazy, right?
2 huge quad one wins, so hopefully they get in the tournament. Do you know Mizzou went 0 and what was it? 0 and 18 in conference play last year. 0 and 18.
I know last year was a big disappointment for what the expectations that people had.
Yep.
It was a rough one.
Yep. And they've totally turned it around this year. And they've got mostly the same guys. They've got one kid that transferred in. I forget his name. The kid that came back, Robinson. He's a stud, number 0. Usually, if you see anything Mizzou graphic, he's on it. But yeah, they've played really well. They're a good watch, too. They're chaotic, play a lot of good D. So hopefully we get to see them somewhere. The SEC is absolutely brutal. It's definitely the best league in the nation this year. But if they can chip off a couple wins in conference and get up over 20, I think they've got a good shot of making the tournament because of the big quad one wins that they have. So that'll be exciting.
How weird is it? And I wouldn't say weird. The SEC has been pretty good the last couple years with basketball, but like now they're the powerhouse in basketball. And I'd say probably maybe the Big Ten,
Big Ten
in
in football.
football. So it's sort of changed a little bit. And our buddy Dale Stotler, who's a big Buckeye fan, after that loss to Michigan, I think I commented on his text. I was like, dude, football this year is it's an anomaly. It's just so weird who's
Yeah.
beating who, and there's not a big powerhouse anymore, and that just feels weird. I think more than anything else, it's probably good for the game,
Yeah.
but it just was a weird season.
Yeah. It was a weird regular season, and we're getting the bracket for the first time. I think as early as next year, we're going to see them reseed that thing once the opening rounds.
Yeah.
Or if you win your conference, you're not guaranteed to buy or
Yeah,
something. They knew they got it wrong this year. But as far as the outcome, I think Notre Dame's going to lose by multiple scores. I'm not going to say they're going to get blown out. I think they'll lose by 10-14. But they earned their place there. They won some big games. I wish somebody else would probably be there, and maybe we'll get a good close game with some miracles in it and stuff like that. But you can't say that they didn't earn their way there because of the new format. I mean, they won 3 huge games to get here.
yeah, and I think so. I always think about Indiana in that conversation of like earned, like their record. How much do you take into a record? How much do you take into account record and strength of schedule and a combination of that? Earned and maybe deserve are maybe 2 different things.
Yeah.
It's just it's gonna be tough to find college football fans that think Notre Dame is number 2, 1 or 2
Yeah.
best teams in college football. I don't know how many people would actually think that.
So would you say Penn State was a top 5 team?
Probably not.
Fringe. Somewhere in there, in the middle of the top 10, probably. Indiana's whatever, and who was their other win? Why can't I think of it?
Um,
You can keep talking, though. Ohio State's like NFL guys everywhere.
I,
Everywhere.
I agree with you, and I'll even go one further. I think it's probably not going to be 2 scores. I think it's going to be more than that.
Oh, you think?
Ohio State, it's just different levels of football.
They made well, I thought well, Texas offense was terrible, but I thought Texas defense played really well in that game. What they get? They ended up giving up 32, I guess, right? It was at 21 for a long time. Because Texas is the same way. There's NFL guys all over that defense. It's
Yeah.
just so hard because Ohio State has two NFL running backs and three NFL wide receivers
Yeah.
on the roster that could play like in the playoff game this weekend in the NFL.
I think that was the frustrating part for a lot of Ohio State fans, especially in the Michigan loss, is like you have these, and I don't know exactly what Michigan was doing on defense. I didn't get to watch it like I do some other games. And we were busy doing something, so I was catching highlights and maybe kind of tracking it that way. I can't exactly remember, but the weapons that they have didn't seem like they were really using them all that
Yeah.
much. They were trying to force the run, and I don't know what the box looked like. I don't know what defense they were running or whatever, but it just seemed like they were off between their play calling and what they wanted to do and utilizing their weapons in the way that I think a lot of people think they should be.
Notre Dame also beat Georgia. Would you say Georgia was top five team?
Yes.
I probably would. So
Yeah.
I feel like, the Indiana's whatever, but they beat Georgia and Penn State, so
Yeah.
they deserve to play for a title, I think.
This season's been so weird. The number one changed a lot, and even my feeling of like who the best team was, like I thought it was Georgia early on in the season. Then it was like Oregon, and then sometimes Texas, and I don't know.
Oregon was not ready for that shit at all. That was disappointing.
No, it's been a weird year, man. I don't. I think Ohio State's one of the best teams. I don't know who else I would put, there. It wouldn't be Notre Dame though.
Yeah. There's a couple other teams in the field that would stand a better chance against them than Notre Dame for sure.
Do you think Alabama should have been in?
I mean, if you're taking the best teams, well, they lost their bowl game. Who'd they lose their bowl game to? Michigan, right? Michigan beat Alabama in whatever bowl they were
Yeah,
in.
they did.
Fairly
Yeah.
certain. So, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Again,
what the
weird.
hell is that? Is Michigan good now?
No.
Is their coach of the year? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's just weird. Been a weird,
yeah.
weird year.
Yeah, it's been a weird year. Still excited to watch the chip though. Like I said, hopefully it's close. I just want to be entertained one final time. What about the NFL playoffs?
Oh man,
Everybody's just sitting around waiting for the Ravens Bills game, I think, right?
I told DJ today I've never been more excited in the last 5 years. I can't think of a game I've been more excited for.
Then Ravens Bills.
Ravens Bills.
Feels
Those
like
two teams, my goodness.
feels like the AFC Championship, doesn't it?
It does. And I know like the Chiefs have been off everybody's mind just because they had to buy and nobody has seen them. And
No one's played in 21 days. We haven't seen Mahomes in like a month.
yeah, right. And that last game was weird, and it was like the JV team or whatever. So they've kind of been off out of everybody's mind. But man, just seeing those games last week and I watched more of the Ravens game than I did the Bills game. But ooh, those teams are good.
Yeah, yeah. They both have holes on defense, which favors us as the spectator because hopefully it's like a 42-38 kind of thing, and I think it could be.
Yeah.
They both have holes in pass defense, like big time, but on offense, it's hard to stop either of them. I'm a Bills fan. I think Baltimore. I think they're given a point. I think the Bills are given a point right now. It opened with Baltimore minus a point. I think
Oh, has that
back
changed?
to
That line
the Bills.
changed?
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I can look it up, but it's either way it goes on whichever team's side, that's a pick 'em. So, I mean, that's how Vegas is seeing it anyway.
And I think this might be a little recency bias because, like I said, I watched every snap of the Ravens game, and I didn't see as much of the Bills. I mean, obviously the Bills and Josh Allen, and maybe that's something we'll get into too. Is like who's MVP.
Yeah.
But I actually think I'm gonna put money on the Ravens. They just if you're talking about like total team, oh my gosh, between like the running
Derrick
obviously, and then what Lamar can do, and even a busted play can turn into 60 yards. It's just that stopping that's going to be so difficult.
Yeah. I'm glad the game is in Buffalo. The current
Yes.
line right now is Baltimore is given a point again, so it's back on their side. The money line is even. Over under is 51.5 is where it's sitting at right now. glad the game's in Buffalo. As far as MVP, Josh Allen 100% deserves it. Like 100% deserves it. But I think personally, and me even being a Bills and Josh Allen fan, I think Lamar should win. His numbers are better. And most of what happens, like even the Derrick Henry stuff, when they run RPO, any kind of anything, how you have to be ready for two such different style runners, he still plays into the yards that Henry gets, I feel like. So, I mean, he won MVP the last year and his numbers are better this year. Like, how do you not give it to him? Unless it's well, he's already won a couple. It's Josh's time. And then why would you even vote like that? So I think Lamar should win it. He's been of course, I mean, the award is like never given in any sport to be the most valuable, it doesn't seem like. If it was, I would say Josh Allen would get it because I think he's done more, without him, they'd be worse than the Ravens would be without Lamar, probably. But I don't think that's the way they usually vote. They usually vote on the side of numbers, and I think Lamar had the better season.
The numbers definitely lean that way. And, and like, how much do you take into account of that? Of like, Josh is a runner too, but he's not back number two. You know what I mean? It's more scrambles. It's not as much design unless it's like situational and goal line and some of that stuff.
Yeah, he probably has a design run like 3 to 5 times a game where Lamar doubles that.
And maybe that's not a great example, but somebody who's just who and I don't say just, but is more of a drop back passer, pocket passer. The rushing numbers aren't going to be something like Lamar's, and the numbers aren't going to be comparable because there's two different styles. So, and I'm saying this year's not exactly that, but Lamar's going to have more rushing numbers than any quarterback in the league for many, many years. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much you take in.
He's going to hit 10,000 yards in his career. That's crazy to think about. So there's a lot of good running backs that never made that number.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be on that committee. I think both are deserving. I wouldn't be upset if either one of them got it. And I think there's a good case for both of them.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I was talking to my buddy up here last week when we were watching football. This is the first year in like a long time that you could make the case for 4 or 5 guys winning it. I mean, Jamar Chase had the receiving triple crown. Saquon almost broke the rushing record. Joe Burrow did everything he did with like nothing but him and Jamar Chase and some T. Higgins. But you could make a case for any of those guys winning MVP, really. And maybe even a couple more. Darnold, maybe, fringe. I know he ended the season really crappy, but we haven't had that in a while. Usually there's a clear-cut NFL MVP.
Yeah.
Not like this. And not only is it Josh and Lamar, those other guys in some different years probably could have won it.
What do you think about Mahomes not making the Pro Bowl?
Well, he didn't. His numbers aren't that great. So I'm fine with that. Is there anybody you'd argue that did make it at quarterback that shouldn't have? I don't know if I know who it was.
Man, I don't know.
That he would like take the place of.
Well, it'd be Allen, Burrow. Isn't there 3?
Lamar. I'm sure. Yeah, they're all going to be alternates anyway. So it's going to be. The Pro Bowl, and maybe this is more the MVP conversation, but if you take Mahomes, if you play Wentz instead of Mahomes, like it's more the MVP conversation, but man, he just means so much to that team more than any other quarterback. Yeah. Regardless of what his numbers are, they won 15 games, ran away with it, have the number 1 seed. He was down a bunch of people this year, like always. Thing people are talking about with the Chiefs is like, I think both of maybe you could tell me, I think both of their tackles are out for this upcoming game.
I don't know.
I think they've both been out. So don't quote me on that, but I think both of they're playing backup tackles on both ends. This is advantageous for Houston, who's been really vanilla all year. They've had a bunch of injuries and stuff too. But one thing like everybody forgot to notice about Houston was their defense has been awesome all year, and they've
Mhm.
got some young studs that are ready to get after it. So with those tackles being out, maybe it's still the Chiefs. I wouldn't lay any money against them, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. But yeah, as far as Mahomes, I think he had 26 and 11. I want to say 26 touchdowns, 11 picks, or it's somewhere in there.
It's a lot of
Well below
interceptions.
his season averages.
Yeah, it was a lot of interceptions this year. I'm sure that was part of it. And the talent of the rest of the guys too.
Yeah, I'm surprised Xavier Worthy didn't go off a little more, but of course he lost Rice like week 4 or 5. That was the number one receiver. He's been down all season.
Care if I flip the switch here?
Flip it.
Milwaukee Brewers, Mr. Euchre.
Yes. Yes. Somber day up here. Somber day.
Man, just and more than a play-by-play guy, but the personality behind it, the humor, the self-deprecating humor,
Yeah.
the major league, and all the funny stories that you would hear, and just kind of what he means to that town.
Well, what he means to everybody. I don't think you
Yeah.
have to be from Milwaukee or been around here, grew up here, or even a baseball fan to know who Bob Uecker is. He was on so versatile, such a funny and caring guy. Nobody has anything bad to say about him. But he was on Johnny Carson. He actually played for the Cardinals for a while.
Yeah.
He did stand up comedy. I got a tweet or I saw a tweet from one of the media guys I do Marquette games with from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. He called play by play for Marquette during the 1973-1974 season. No one knows that. It doesn't seem so long ago.
Yeah. Wow.
He was in movies, Major League. He has so many taglines, just a bit outside, all those things.
Yeah.
So I think he's not just a baseball guy. He is Mr. Baseball, and it means a lot to the city, and I'll kind of get into that. But he was a world-class human that, spanned, kind of genres and different forms of media to where a lot of people know who he is. And I even received text today. It must be a sad day up there. And I'm like, yep, it sure is. So quick story, I guess that involves you. You came up, man, it's been like 15, 16 years ago now. I don't even think I
Long
was
time.
living up here yet. You came up with Chuck and Dwayne and Twan, I want to say. I think those are the guys who came. And we went to
Timmy.
a Brewers Cubs game, which is risky in its own right. The Cubs fans freaking flood that place. I think we just had standing room only seats, but the first thing you and Chuck did, we got on the concourse level and you guys sprinted towards like behind home plate area just so you could see him. And that was the first thing you did. And you guys were not kidding. You were legitimately excited and you could see him in the booth up there and you guys pointed at him and everything. I think he might have even waved at you guys. So it was interesting, that's the kind of effect that he had. You guys traveled all the way up here, Brewers game. Well, Brewers, first thing I have to see is the man. I've got to see Bob Uecker.
Yeah, and it was more his comedy for me. I didn't hear him a lot on play by play other than when we were up there, maybe, So
Yeah.
it wasn't a voice that it wasn't something like, you know, Shannon down here, whoever else. But it was uh, the major league stuff. And I remember I'm I talk about it all the time, big Norm Macdonald fan. And
Yeah.
he has a hilarious whole bit about he played a celebrity golf tournament with Euchre and just how
God.
how he was foul mouthed as can be, and even like during they would have a cough button, and he was he invited Norm and Artie Lang up to the booth, and he was like a magician with, or like a jazz musician kind of with the cough button for what he would tell those guys, like trying to make those guys laugh and then going straight
Yeah.
back into the play by play. So just some of the stories like that, and some really more other people talking about him and kind of telling some of those funny stories. And then obviously the sort of one liners and the jokes and the self deprecating humor. It's like, yeah, just a big fan of him. There was what is it? Bob Uecker's Wild Wacky Sports or something. My cousins had it as a VHS when I was young,
Yeah,
and
in the
man,
80s. Yeah.
so funny, and we'd watch that all the time. So yeah, I was just a big fan, and I mean, I don't have a whole lot of love for Brewer stuff other than that. So yeah, when we got up there, it was like something me and Chuck definitely wanted to see.
And the best things you hear about euchre, like a lot of the legends, that pass away, is the best stories that you hear about him are people and or what you hear from other people. And like everybody's got a different story. Like I was listening to a lot of radio today. Everybody has some kind of different, unique interaction with euchre that, that'll last forever, that made an imprint on them. And a lot of people called into. I was listening to Drive Time Radio, like the ESPN morning radio guys up here, and they were taking calls and stuff. And this was during a show that's called Green and Gold Today. It runs for 2 hours of drive time radio, and it runs 365 days a year, and it is all Packers. It is all Packers all year. They did it. The news broke right towards the beginning of the show, and they did the entire 2 hour show on euchre and taking calls and everything. There wasn't anything about the Packers today. And a lot of those people that called in, they were just listeners. It was such a big part of their life. He's been broadcasting games as long as, most people have been alive up here. So if you liked baseball, he was in your living room. He was, the voice that they knew. So a lot of people had a hard time even getting through their comments. They were getting teared up and choked up. He just had a huge impact. And what I heard a lot was Bob Uecker, a lot of times was at his best when the Brewers weren't good. They were getting, the Brewers haven't been that good. They've had some good seasons, here the last couple of years. They made playoffs a few years back, went on a run to the NLCS, but mostly for his time here, they've been pretty bad. And he's called every single game. He made all the travel, and you could never tell a difference. And he was a really good play-by-play guy. He would still get his personality in there, but it definitely wasn't a comedy show. He knew his baseball, and he could call it straight up. He could do it solo. You and I both know how hard doing solo work is. He was just so good. So, yeah, City is pretty and he's probably the most. I don't know if I can think of another one. He's probably the most famous, most impactful person that was born and raised in Milwaukee, just because of everything he spanned. So
Man, the more
sad day.
time, yeah, for sure. The more time I spend on mic, the more I find myself appreciating a good announcer.
Yeah.
And we've even had some like up close personal experiences with that. We're talking about the media stuff in the NCAA, Kevin Harlan. And we were literally sitting behind him, man, it's just, you have to be so quick and on top of things. And
Yeah.
And I just tip my cap to those guys. I could never do something like that as quick as they are, especially basketball. Baseball it's probably a different kind of talent, like
Yeah, you're filling time in baseball.
a lot slower, right? So like the
Yeah.
play might only last a half a second or something, and then what?
Yeah.
Whereas basketball, it's back and forth. So they're probably two different talents, and I would say maybe even I don't know how well one would cross over to the next one, other than just being comfortable on a mic. But I
Yeah.
really appreciate a good announcer
Oh,
now
hell yeah.
more than I ever have in my whole life.
And I think we've gotten some light shed on how much preparation actually goes into calling a game. We spent the NCAA tournament with Kevin Harlan, and he was in and out of the same spaces that we were. We were rubbing elbows with him a lot of the time because he put in the work while we were there. He went to every single presser. He took old school notes. He didn't have a laptop. He had a notebook. He would take notes. He would meet with we had media day. He met with every single coach and spent like 15 or 20 minutes with them. He would meet with them pregame. And I think being really good at it, I mean, obviously he's talented as hell, and a lot of those guys are, I think it's where the preparation meets just the muscle memory that they have for it now from, calling so many games. But when you already have those like stats on hand, maybe not stats, those stories, those things you want to talk about, you've done your homework, then that meets just how good and fluid you are from calling all those games. And that's what happens.
Well, we were there. He called 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
With about
all day,
a 30-minute
tie.
break.
Yeah.
And he got up one time during a break or halftime or something, and I said, like, I was tired just watching basketball.
Yeah,
like it's a lot just to watch it. Like
Yeah.
I was literally tired. I'm like, how because when you're on mic and especially as a lead commentator, man, you got to be on top of it. If there's any kind of void, you got to fill that void with
Yep.
something. So yeah, the preparation has to be there, and he had notes upon notes upon notes.
Hmm.
Like he was not winging it, and he had a lot of like digital help too. Right, the stats would update right in front of him, and then
Yeah.
his color guys would help, and they have so many assistants. Well, I say that they have a few assistants that will bring them, coffee and water, and they're just sitting there like for pretty much the whole day. So anyway, during halftime, he got up to go use the restroom or something, and I'm like, "Aren't you tired, my guy? Like this is a lot." And he's like, Or I said, "How aren't you tired?" As the fourth game, and he said, "What says I'm not tired?" Like he had a really funny kind of comment back to
Yeah.
me. And I was just really impressed with that. And he's not the only one. We've sat behind a few guys
Yeah.
that did that, and it's just a man. It's a different kind of skill. I think
Yep.
they make it look so easy that people might think it's easy, but I guarantee it's not.
And guys like Harlan too, they're really animated during the broadcast and everything too. And I remember Kevin Harlan had like a booster seat or something. He had like an
Yeah,
extra foam cushion that would bring him up even more, and he'd be standing up and screaming.
I think some of that because Van Gundy was there too. So I think
Yeah,
like
we had Van Gundy.
some of that's like TV levels. Like you don't want one way up here and one way
Yeah,
down here.
yeah,
Van Gundy had like a couple extra boosters.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. But that stuff is tough to do. I think Uecker was just one of those unique guys. He was definitely had that personal touch and made it his own, and what he brought in from all his other life stuff. If you get a chance, there is a Christian Yelich media like locker interview after they lost in the playoff last season. Go find that because he can barely get through, and Euchre was still alive during this. He could barely get through talking to the media because he met with Euchre like afterwards, and he said he was just talking about what this meant to Euchre and their relationship. And he's always been. You should watch it. It's one of those things where he hardly says anything, but he also says everything.
Mm.
So I feel like Yelich was so close to Euchre, and Euchre was close to a ton of players. That I think Yelich might have known that was it, Not
Mm.
maybe not that he was going to pass away over the summer, or before the season started, but that he might not be coming back into the booth, that his health had declined. Because he's been pretty rough the last couple of years. I mean, he was 90 years old, and like Shannon, he liked his alcohol and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
he made an awesome run at it. But I think Yelich knew that was it. And you could just tell he was really disappointed that and I think that's what you heard a lot today was, he had such a great career, left all these great memories, but man, I wish he could have seen the Brewers win a series because he didn't get to. You
Big
agree?
loss, man. Big
Yep.
loss for sure.
But tons of funny stuff and funny memories. Go watch Major League. That's
Yeah,
probably his best. And ball 6, ball 8.
such good writing on that too.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
What's what's Birds and Swords? Oh man, your live stream,
What?
your past live stream. What's the
Oh, the
game
bomb?
called?
Keep talking and nobody explodes.
Tell me about this game.
Yeah, it's
Have
actually an
never.
old game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it's just a PC game. I don't know if you can get it on consoles or not. I don't know. It's kind of half video game, half party game. Like if you're calling a party game, like a board game, if you're playing Taboo, it's kind of half of both of those worlds. Where you have to defuse a bomb and they get harder. They have like different terminals on them, and there'll be different kind of like puzzle types of things. But the person playing it will be playing with other players who can't see the bomb, but they have the instructions on how to defuse it. And the person that can see the bomb doesn't have the instructions on how to defuse it. So it could be things such as cutting wires, setting passwords, doing mazes, getting symbols in the right order and stuff. And everything in the manual, I've actually got it right here. Everything in the manual. I got it if I don't knock everything over. Now, I made this. Let me get it up in there. Look, it's got tabs
Hmm.
to where you can get through it faster.
Yeah.
So, like when you buy the game, you just buy it digital you have to like go online and print out the manual. So anyway, the bomb manual has everything's based on like conditions. So like for instance, like the wires, there'll be 6 wires and there'll be different colors. Well, there's a section for if there's only 3 wires, here are the parameters. If there's 4 wires, then this, 5 and then 6. And then once you know the amount of wires, you can ask, it'll say if there's any yellow wires, move to step 2. So they'll start asking you questions to whittle down which one to cut or which ones to cut. That's just a simple example, but it gets pretty crazy, especially when you can have multiple people. Because once you get good at it, you can start multitasking and sending direct. You can have someone working ahead on the next one, stuff like that. But it gets crazy intense.
So
Live stream is really fun.
the live stream was awesome. I was like super glued in, and I was like, it was pretty late, especially for me.
Yeah, we ended up playing for like 4.5 hours or something.
I'm usually to bed pretty early, and I couldn't stop watching it. And like it reminded me of like an escape room, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah, that's what Alyssa said because she hadn't played it before. Yeah, that's what she compared it to.
And I love those kinds of things, like figuring out the puzzles or whatever. But what I found myself doing, and I even texted this to you, and you didn't have your phone on you. Zach was doing something wrong, and it kept messing you guys up. And as like
And I didn't know what it was or something.
yeah, and as the difficulty level increased, sometimes the time would be more important, right? Where you like you're talking about, where you have to like multitask or something. And he was given a list of I think like 5 different columns of different letters, but he wasn't reading the first one. So you guys,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I was like squeezing my phone, like anxious, like anxiety, like a
You're
panic
6,
attack.
not 5, or whatever you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like texting him like Zach's missing this, and that's why you guys keep because you guys were on it. You guys, I think, would get to that, and you would have time to finish the rest of it. It's just he wasn't reading a certain thing,
Yep.
and I got super invested in it at
Yeah.
like
Well,
midnight.
it's crazy as a spectator because neither of us could see that hole. I mean, it's all about communication.
Yeah,
That's funny when you can see both sides of it like that.
and it was cool to see how I think roles kind of fit personalities in a way. Like I would be better at this kind of thing, or somebody
Yeah.
else would be better at this kind of thing. And I think you guys kind of figured that out at least throughout the process. And like, no, you have this, I have that, kind
Yeah.
of assigning different kind of
Better at
roles.
different stuff. Yeah. I personally feel like I'm best I'm a really good communicator. I'm able to make things black and white a lot of times with people. So I feel like I'm best on the computer. And Zach actually thrived at this game because Zach, I'm not dissing him or anything, but he has like severe ADHD. I mean, you spent a little time with him. Like the dude's constantly multitasking. Like he's always
Yeah.
doing 2 things. And playing this game, I was watching some of the stream back. I'm like, man, this is perfect for him. This is why he's so good at this because his brain allows him to do those things
Yeah.
because so much of his life is like that. So he was really good at it.
Yeah. And I think I remember getting frustrated with you one time when he was on the computer and you had to pull the lever like it was a time sensitive kind
Oh
of
yeah, those
things.
needy modules or whatever, just to distract you.
You had to like reset the clock or like hold it down for the time to fill back up. And you're trying to feed him a bunch of information, and I see him trying to like do 2 at once. And I'm like, give the
Yeah.
guy a break, So,
Yeah. Or sometimes it'll be on the back side of the bomb. Like you'll have
Yeah.
to mess with something.
yeah, you'd have to flip it.
Yeah. Or the snooze goes off. And I figured out just when I was watching the stream back that when the snooze button goes off, so it's like an alarm clock, right? It's like meh, 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 meh. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just really distracting. I figured out that time actually goes double speed during that. So if you have to click it like as soon as you can.
Oh, okay.
And then sometimes the power goes out, so it goes completely dark.
Yeah.
Can't see for a little while. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. It's totally unique, or at least for its time. We looked it up. It said it came out in 2015. I feel like it's older than that, but I guess it's not.
Well, I was interested in it
Been out 10 years. 10 years.
and finding out the name of it because I'd like to do it with my girls.
Yeah.
Think that would
And
be
it's
fun.
you're doing problem solving stuff, like it's working your brain in a fun way the whole time. Really, really good. It's on Steam it's actually not on sale, but it's on Steam. It's only $15. And
nice.
then you can link over to a PDF version of the manual and just print it out.
Very cool.
But you definitely need the physical manual, and I definitely recommend having at least 2-3 people total.
And you guys have a episode next week?
Yeah, we'll be dropping an episode next week. Alyssa's
Ooh.
been having one she's wanted to do coming out of the Game Awards. Because at the Game Awards, they announced a bunch of new content, and a bunch of that content in these big AAA games all have female protagonists. There was a big pushback on the internet from all the bros and whatever, people being pissed about it and all these things.
Jeez.
So we're doing finally doing like a celebrating women, especially the female protagonist types of episodes, and we'll have some serious discussion around some of the toxicity that's come around in the last couple months just because of some of the announcement we've had. Something Alyssa's very passionate about, so we're going to do that. We'll be back on video. We've done a bunch of. Alyssa has helped me with it. We've done a bunch of art for the episode. We're gonna have slides for the characters and things. We like to insert our artistic expression, so look forward to that. That'll be really cool. And then tomorrow I haven't talked it over with her yet. We're going to do a quick react on the Nintendo Switch 2. We might just do like 5, 10, 15 minutes on that. But with the big announcement of the new console today, we kind of want to jump on that while it's hot, because there is a lot more to that simple trailer than what you probably think you saw. And
Okay.
we're gonna dive into that tomorrow.
So I saw the
And
trailer too.
we'll probably post that tomorrow, as long as Alyssa's down to do all that, which I can't see why she wouldn't.
So I was excited about that trailer. We, as you well know, and probably even some of our listeners know, I'm a Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
Like I wave that flag. I love the versatility of it, how you can play it in so many different ways. We're a Mario family, so it kind of aligns with what we mostly play. Now we do have a PS5, and that's mostly, well, I'd say 98% Fortnite. Uh,
Gonna say
we
100 probably.
typically play together more on, well, it's typically we almost exclusively play together more on our Nintendo Switch. So to see that trailer got us pretty excited.
Did you? Now there were games shown in the video, and you probably just thought that they were the games, right? But they show Mario Kart, and it's definitely. I won't go super into it or anything, but it's definitely the new Mario Kart, or at
Okay,
least
so
we're
I didn't
thinking
see that.
so, because it's in a setting that's not familiar with the other games, and it looks like it's open world, at least from like the 4 seconds that we saw.
Okay, so I don't know if I've seen that one then.
Did you see the one that I shared?
I thought, but it just kind of showed like the actual system itself. I didn't
Yeah,
see
it
any
goes
kind of
through like
gameplay.
three. It's like a 3 minute trailer, and it does this sexy stuff with the hardware that says Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch 2. And then it does some sexy things with the Joy Cons, and it says
Oh,
Nintendo Switch 2. And then it shows it all together, and it like peaks at a couple games really quick.
okay. So I probably tuned out before we got to that
Yeah.
point.
And
Okay.
I kind of thought that when I was watching too. I was like, I wonder if people are just going to stop the trailer right here thinking it's over.
Well, I did.
Yep. And yet that turned out to be the case. But
So
we'll
I'll have
dive
to,
into some of those details tomorrow. Some of it's speculation, but we'll put that up, tag in the barn, and that'll be on our YouTube and everything tomorrow afternoonish probably. But I'm excited. I think everybody's excited, and it does look sexy. I'll say that right here. It does look sexy, and it's bigger.
yeah, looking forward to it.
Yep.
Totally love it. And it looks like the things that I like about the Nintendo Switch 1, I guess now we're calling it,
Yeah. Just the Switch.
is coming back. So like the versatility of the
Yeah.
Joy Cons and the mobility of it, I guess, being able
Yeah.
to take it on the go, all that stuff. So I mean, we
What does
always
make? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we actually have two because when we travel, we take them with us, and it's like
Yeah.
as a parent, it's sometimes a lifesaver, and for me too. Like I'll like if going to bed in the hotel room, they're watching something on TV. There's a NBA game I like a lot. It's almost like an NBA Jam kind of throwback. I forget what it's even called, like maybe Playground or something.
Yeah. NBA Playgrounds. Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
play that quite a
A little
bit. And,
cartoony, I think, but it still
yeah.
has like licensed role players in it. Yeah.
yeah, and you know how you can get how sometimes you'll get caught up in a game because you want to buy the player or the team, or you'll get points for this certain thing, and then you can open up new things. It's a little bit like that. The gameplay itself is okay. Like I said, it's kind of NBA Jam.
Yeah. Arcade
Uh,
style basketball.
but I really wanted to get Larry Bird, so I just kept playing and playing and playing.
Well,
So
until you unlock him.
yeah,
You could
I
just
pro-
play Jordan versus Bird.
yeah.
Did you have that Nintendo game?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Man, go back and watch it now. Terrible.
Oh yeah.
It even sounds terrible. It like hurts your ears. Like it's so terrible. We had a lot of fun playing it at the time. Last thing on the Switch, one of the most interesting things about it is how the same it is, because Nintendo every console cycle does something crazy different, gives you some kind of new and innovative way to play and all these things. But they've sold almost 150 million of those suckers that are in living rooms already. They know what people are familiar with, I guess, and they're just leaning into that, just making it more powerful, all those things. And it is going to be fully backwards compatible, so you're not losing any of your old Switch games, all those.
Ooh, good news.
Yeah. So it is still a Switch. So if you want to like trade yours in, if you get some credit for it, do it, because it's still going to be a regular Switch too.
Good.
But it's
That's
mostly
even
just a Switch. Usually we saw, when the Wii came out, we're like, what the hell is this? Motion controller,
yeah.
like each iteration's been a little different. So this is their first time doing something super the same since like Super Nintendo to the Nintendo, or Nintendo 64 to the Super Nintendo, that era.
Mike McClanahan's in the comments. He said, "Boom shakalaka."
Boom. That's an NBA Jam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah. He said, "I can lay flat on my back and play Switch. I love it."
Yep.
I agree. Totally agree. A lot of times I am on my back playing it.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, can we take a commercial break real quick?
Yep.
Hang tight. Welcome back to the live stream about nothing. It's like Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
A show about nothing. You think so?
No one's going to buy that. No one's going to watch this.
You a big Seinfeld guy?
Yeah. Not as big as you, probably. I heard that story. Well, Sarah was talking about how she hears it like going to sleep every single night or something.
Yeah, I love Seinfeld. Hey, can I talk about my weekend coming up?
Yeah. What's today? Thursday? So do you count Friday as the weekend, I guess, right?
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot going on tomorrow. I don't think.
We'll talk about the good stuff then. I'm excited to hear about the good stuff.
It seems like there was
Now that you
something.
folks can drive around down there now.
Yeah, yeah. So Saturday we have a volleyball tournament. My youngest does, and it's in at Jefferson College in Hillsborough. Those are always fun. A lot of fun to watch. The team's a lot of fun. We just have a lot of.
This is a tournament?
It's a tournament. Yep.
How about I messaged you to see if you
clothes
could
on?
I messaged you to see if you could check on something.
Button all the way up if you're going to come close, because it'll pick you up. Okay.
We got a volleyball player in our midst.
Yeah. In pajamas, and I just want to make sure we're all good there.
I interrupted you because I messaged you about something. Usually you and I are both up at like 6 in the morning looking at stuff already. I messaged you at like 7:15 in the morning or something. I think it was in the 7 o'clock hour somewhere. And you're like, can't right now. Sent me a picture and they're playing volleyball already at like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was in Cape. It was in Cape.
And you had to drive to Cape.
So it was an hour and a half. Are you good? Okay. So you can come closer then. It was an hour and a half. There's Ava right there.
There she is. There's the volleyball star. Hey, Ava.
So it was an hour and a half there, and I think they had an 8 o'clock start time. So
okay, maybe it was in the 8 o'clock. Still, I was like, what? That's past tense, right? You're like, no, I'm here doing this right now.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's like, that's not an old picture I'm sending you.
Yeah.
But we really enjoy all the time.
So is it that again? Is it starting that early?
Maybe. I don't actually know. But yeah, there she is right there, Aver. Aver is responsible for one of your commercials, right? The voice.
Yep. Dude, what's crazy is how much her voice has changed since then. Yeah. It's already like a flashback, because she did that like over 3 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
It's crazy because she doesn't sound like that anymore. I mean, It's still Ava. You can still tell it's her, but it's pretty, so how old is she now? If you don't mind.
Ava, how old are you? Scoot up. Can you come like beside me? Maybe you'll appear. She's 9 years old.
9. So she'd been 6, I think. Maybe she might even been 5 when we did that.
Jeez.
She was a little tater tot. Yeah.
Yep. So she's got a volleyball tournament that we're going to Jefferson College. Those are always a lot of fun. We always enjoy those. And then Sunday, it's a big deal for the barn. We got media credentialed for the St. Louis Cardinals winter warm up. It's sort of like their fan fest kind of thing before the season gets kicked off. A lot of the current players are going to be there. A lot of past players. It's our first time really getting credentialed with MLB.
Yeah,
And
it's such a huge deal. And I feel like you don't even really need to explain it to most people. Like most people know what the winter warm up is already.
yeah, and I sent you a screenshot today. Like, I think I might even been driving and just on my phone, the notification came up is like, you have a new email from MLB. And that's never
You're
happened
like, I gotta
before.
check that one. Yeah.
So that was really neat. And we are so lucky and fortunate that whoever thinks enough of us to allow us to come and do, I don't even know what, just be goobers. But, I'd say follow Knuckleball Primetime on Facebook. We'll probably put a lot of stuff up there, probably maybe a little bit on the barn, and then even our personal accounts. So that's going to be,
If you're into like Cardinals dopamine hits, you're gonna get them on Sunday. They're just gonna be coming in.
yeah. And
Yeah, I'm so excited for you. It's so cool. Plus, you sent the media, at least in your segment, invite list, and it's only like 8 people. You're on the list of the 8 people that they approved. So that's pretty killer.
yeah, it's really neat. And there's going to be a lot more bigger outlets there. The
Oh yeah,
the ones that you hear about all the time, and the ones that actually cover
Mike
the
Bush,
Cardinals.
he's still gonna be there.
Yeah, or
he'll probably
Zipper
be there.
Zeppa or Zepra maybe.
Zipper Zappa. Oh my God, I haven't thought about that in years. Oh geez. Yeah.
And we're just a little small part of it. And again, we are very grateful for that opportunity, and we'll hope it's the start of something that's really kind of, because we've always, me and you specifically, and some others, DJ and some other Dale, have always talked about the Cardinals being the mecca, the tip of the
Yeah.
mountain for us, and getting into cover them in the way that we really want to. So this was a big deal. Even if it's just this, that's fine. It's going to be a neat experience. I think there's a lot of media room pressers, so we'll get to ask some questions to some legends, and some current players as well. So
And it said it was the one in Busch Stadium, so I think that's the one that you're going to get to take part in. It's
yeah,
not like they built a presser outside in Ballpark Village. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're going to go into the actual Busch Stadium one, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I think maybe that's what I'm most excited about is just kind of seeing the behind the scenes of what people that cover the Cardinals on during the season on a daily basis, pretty much. What the process is with that, with even just kind of the behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of times that's just as interesting to me. Maybe you too. Maybe you feel
Yeah.
this way. As anything else, like even like the NCAA stuff is like walking behind and you're seeing the CBS truck and they're running monitors and how many cables are run here and there. And then during commercial break, you have all these runners doing all these things. Just seeing a little bit of that, how the end result, we're so used to the end result and seeing it on TV and seeing the product, the finished product,
Yeah.
how I guess maybe sort of the sausage is made, as they say,
Yeah.
for some reason. But seeing the behind the scenes stuff is just as cool, I think.
Yeah.
And getting
we
to
haven't had,
understand.
and we haven't had that taste, or we haven't had that thirst quenched with baseball.
Yeah.
Well, actually, any professional sport. We've done really, really well in college. We're very fortunate. And a lot of college is just as big as pro at certain times of year. So I don't discount that at all. But this is, the first of the major sports. And, hopefully it does. I think we can still be optimistic about it leading to something else. Do you end up going to games this year? Maybe not. But at least getting to cover something like this is really, really cool for us. And you, especially, you get to get up in there. Are you just going by yourself?
I'm the only
Just
one
got
credentialed.
one credential, right? Like
Yeah, just
name
just one
one.
credential.
Yeah.
I think some other people might come up and buy a ticket or whatever just to experience it, but
Well, we
but
saw the the schedule, and we saw the price, and now that I've seen them together, super fair, super fair. There's so many
Yeah.
cool things and so many big time people there, and you know it's going to be a vibe like the whole time, positive energy, all that good stuff. So I think it's worth the money. What was it, like 50 to 75 bucks? But it got you
Yep.
like all day to everything.
Yeah, and that's the full ticket, I think. Ballpark Village is just free. It's
Oh,
free
okay.
for anybody. So, and they have, the stage going, and I think some Q&As. And what I love about it, and I know at least one of Melody's probably going to go, and my oldest, and maybe my middle one, and my nephew, and my son, and my sister, my Sonia, my sister.
You're Sonya. Yeah. Hey,
So
Sonya.
they're going to go and just enjoy it while I do the media stuff. So the ballpark village is actually free and open to the public.
Okay,
So,
cool.
and there's a lot that goes on there. But as far as like getting into Busch Stadium and getting into the locker room and stuff, I think that cost. But the stuff that I'm going to be doing is probably a lot of the media room stuff where, they might have even some past players. We saw Ozzie Smith on the list. We saw Vince
Vince
Coleman
Coleman.
on the list. Yeah. So they'll come in and take some questions, and then, some of the current players will too. So,
Yeah, Contreras was going to be there. Sonny Gray, Newt Barr. He'll be a fan favorite. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool.
yeah.
And, it all goes through Cardinals Care. I don't know the slice on that admission fee, so I don't want to quote any of that, how much is going to that or if it's all going to that or whatever. But it's all a benefit at the same time. And the Cardinals do really, really well in St. Louis, obviously, with that stuff. So it's awesome that event does well. And it's awesome that we get to cover it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit of a pinch ourselves kind of thing,
Yeah.
and maybe the next step. We're always looking to kind of take that next step, and said this on I think four other podcasts at this point, but I'm really excited to see what 2025 has in store for us.
Yep.
And even somebody mentioned that in the comments. Oh, Jack, my buddy Jack said I'm a Barn fan, and I'm really interested to see what 2025 is going to look like for you guys. And I was like, buddy, you're along for the ride with us. So
Arn fan. Wow. Yeah.
so it's man, it's just some cool opportunities that we get, and that's never lost on me. That people sometimes it's people putting their neck out for you, and then making sure that you repay them by doing the work
Yeah.
the professional work that's needed to be done.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we represent all those things really well while still having a casual, entertaining conversation most of the time.
We
A
are.
lot of it depends on what they give you, I suppose.
Mhm.
But I think we're good at, keeping it light and still getting through everything.
It it's been really it's been a fun journey, I guess.
So were you done with your thought there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just zoned out.
Just zoned out how awesome everything's getting. I know Vulgar's been doing some cool stuff too. So can you maybe just give us this, or do you want to talk about Vulgar?
Well, can I mention that we talked to Sonny from POD today?
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah.
I
The
love
youth
that
of the
guy.
nation right there. You talk to him.
Yeah, and in our little text group, so we didn't bring up Youth of the Nation, not on purpose. We just were having such a good conversation about everything else that like their biggest song didn't come up. So it's like, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's like a good interview that you don't bring up Youth of the Nation, or maybe a little bit refreshing for him because it's
Yeah.
he gets
Always
some of those
gets asked
questions a
about that.
lot. And I think Anthony nailed it in our text is like, he's exactly what you think he is. He comes off as genuine as can be, and I'm a fan, man. I like what those guys do. I like what they represent. Maybe my belief system don't align with theirs, but I don't care. I listen to some death metal bands that my belief system doesn't align with theirs either. But
Yeah.
it doesn't take anything away from the fact of me being a fan. So, yeah,
And it
cool.
didn't change the fact of any bills that they were ever on because they've played some killer shows with also people that probably don't align with everything, that they're about.
Yeah, and that was one of
They
my
played
questions too.
multiple Ozfests, I think. I mean, they were
I think so.
obviously, the peak was like right around that new metal era in the early 2000s, but they were playing like Ozfests and everything hardcore.
Yeah, they didn't choose the easy road.
Right.
And that was one of my questions to him is like they've stayed themselves throughout decades when they could have easily sort of taken an easier path. Disassociate from some of their beliefs. I think in a rock and metal world would have been a lot easier than staying true to what they actually believe. I think it's commendable.
Yeah.
And we did mention that on the interview today, and I think he appreciated that people. And I'm not the only one. I mean, I'm sure he gets that a lot, but I think he appreciated that people recognize that. That I think the most impressive thing about them, it's not it's not the, I don't know if they won a Grammy, but it's not those kinds of things, the millions of streams and
Yeah.
the platinums or whatever. They've really just been themselves this whole time and made music that they wanted to make. Some of it became popular, but I don't think it was ever like forced. Like, hey, we need a single from you.
Yeah.
Not sort of one of those things. I think it's super commendable the path that they've been on.
When do we get the full interview? You just release a slice today?
Yeah, we'll probably put up a couple shorts. His book comes out, I want to say like February 25th. So we tend to release things around the time of
Promotional periods.
the promotional stuff. So it'll probably be like mid February, I would say.
Yeah. Nice.
We tend to, tell me if you guys do this. Especially Vulgar, it seems like we tend to backlog a lot. Like next week, I think we have maybe a regular episode and then at least 3 interviews lined up. So that's like Vulgar for the next month
Right. Yeah.
and probably
Not really.
more.
Sometimes some little stuff if we record little offshoots that we release later. But as far as episodes, pretty much record them and then release them within a couple days.
Yeah, and yours is kind of different too because some of these are just like 15-minute interviews
Yeah.
and 10-minute interviews. But
Plus, you'll do a bunch in the same day. I feel like if you can book them, where you do 3 in an afternoon or whatever, then you've got 2 Vulgars and 1 Midwest mixtape, and then you can release those and align them.
that's sort of my favorite thing to do is because once you know this for sure, especially if you're talking about like quick hits, like 10 minutes and 15 minutes, once you get rolling, once you kind of like get the wheels turning and get it lubed up a little bit, the
Yeah,
conversation
the
lubed
later
up a
ones are
little
easier.
bit, it really comes natural. And I think some of the interviews are better when that is the case. So yeah, we'll do 3 or threes doesn't happen all that often, but definitely like 2 in a row is sort of we've done that a ton of times.
Yeah.
So I think next Friday is going to be something kind of like that. We are the POD thing kind of just happened fairly quickly. Just kind
Yeah,
of came.
I saw that it kind of just came together.
Yeah, it came together pretty quickly, and we wanted to move on. If we can jump on things when we get the opportunity, we do. And that's, I think you have to, and it kind of sucks sometimes because not everybody can be involved in everything, and sometimes some of the stuff that they want to be involved in. But I think you sort of have to take those opportunities when they're afforded to you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So what do we have? What's on tap for the barn next week? I mean, we're doing the winter warm up on Sunday, so some of that stuff might trickle in. Do we have a preview for the folks? There will be
Yep.
Birds and Swords on Tuesday, but I don't know if you want to start with Monday.
Yep. So Parkland Podcast, like always, and they're actually a little secret here. So if you're tuning in this live stream, you get a little extra. They actually release Sunday night
Like on
for
YouTube?
Monday morning. Yep. So their stuff is up before, but I think it's a good idea because people, they're sort of that drive time radio kind of thing. I think
It's there when they wake up regardless. Yeah,
so.
Monday
If
morning.
they have a 6 o'clock commute, it's there for them. If they have a 7 o'clock commute, it's there for them. If some of their listeners do that, I would suspect that's a little bit of it. At least people have told me that. So, well, Sunday is Bible time at the barn, so that's going to
sure.
release as normal. Parkland Podcast will be up at Sunday evening, night, but ready for you in the morning, Monday morning. You have Tuesday the 21st.
Yep, Birds and Swords on Tuesday.
Tippy Joe show. I'm not sure who they have this coming week, but they'll be on Wednesday. We have. Are you familiar with the rapper Doobie? Do you know him at all?
Just Doobie?
Doobie.
No.
Me and Dale and actually Mike McClanahan, where we interviewed Doobie.
Is he local?
he's an independent artist, and if you look at his numbers, you're going to be completely shocked.
Hmm.
He really kind of caught fire independently, so he's pretty well known in that world.
So
And he's
is he kind of like part content creator then? But he's a musician?
no,
No,
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he does shorts and reels and stuff, but it's
he
not
plays
his
live
main
shows
thing.
and records
Yeah,
legit music.
and he's kind of crossing over to a little bit of rockish, but he's a really great artist.
Okay, cool. So that
And
might be Wednesday.
that will be so that'll release Thursday morning.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then Dirty Right Rear podcast will be back. They actually took off this week. They've been so busy down in Oklahoma that they didn't get a chance to record this week because there were some really big races these actually right now in this past week. So they didn't get a chance to release a new one. So, but they'll be back on Friday the 24th. So they won't release tomorrow. If you're watching this live, their next episode will be on the 24th.
Gotcha. Do we have anything coming tomorrow then?
We don't.
No.
Pretty rare.
Pretty rare. Yes, very rare. And who
Pretty
knows?
rare.
I bet there'll be something posted.
Yeah. I know
Usually is.
we haven't fully blasted. We're still working on the website, but there is a website. It's kind of secret right now. Although if you follow Knuckleball, you've probably seen a few of those.
Yeah.
But we've been doing a lot of articles there. That's gonna increase exponentially in 2025, and so excited about that. Excited to finally fine tune what we've needed forever.
Yeah, just need a little time to clean it up and make it a little better. And then, as far as the user interface and stuff, and then still working on consistent content, I guess you could say, for right now, as far as the website goes. But once we get everybody in the loop and updating stuff, that'd be a nice landing spot for us for sure.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of sports here lately. You talk about the media distribution list, and we are on several. So we get NASCAR updates and St. Louis Cardinal updates and XFL updates, and we get them as press releases. So a lot of that stuff is kind of newsworthy, and you want to get it out timely.
Yeah.
And
you can trust all of it. That's what I like about it the most is everything. You can just be like, this is 100% true. And it's in my lap as soon as it happened.
Yeah. So it's a lot of sports right now, but we're looking to, I was actually thinking about a few things I want to add to the website today, actually, that we could talk about, but it's been a lot of sports.
It's mostly print media through sports.
Digital.
For the
digital
most
medium.
part right now. There is a Birds and Swords page that I've updated our episodes in a little mini player, just trying that stuff out. I think that stuff's up on there now, but yeah, look forward to that growing for sure. And it will.
Cool, man.
All right. It's been a fun chat. Lots going on, but lots of good sports stuff. So Bills or Ravens?
And I've got to go. I know you're a Bills guy, but
Ravens?
I think the Ravens, just that running game is, oh my gosh.
And Ohio State by more than 2 scores.
I think so. This is not gambling advice, by the way, Camera.
Nope. Gambling's legal in Missouri now.
It is. I can't wait for it to be fully
Have you been
up
doing
and
the
going.
player props?
I tried. I don't know. I'm not good at that stuff. I just got money in some way.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
Legally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm putting money. This is not gambling advice, by the way. But I'm putting going
money.
Ravens, going Ohio State. Who's the other teams? Oh, I like the Chiefs.
Lions and Commanders.
I like the Lions.
I think that game could still be fun, maybe. Open for fun in that one. Just get some Jaden Daniels craziness, maybe.
So I want to talk myself out of the Lions. They're so injured.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy the amount of injuries they have. But they're losing both of their coordinators. Like if there's a year,
it's going to be like what happened to the Eagles. Yeah.
It needs to be this year, and they know that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's extra motivation or not, but Man, it needs to be this year. They're going to lose both coordinators. Both
Yeah.
coordinators are good enough to have head coaching jobs. So the quality that people think of them and of what they're capable of is top notch. So if you're looking at a football staff and you basically have three head coaches on one staff, which we've seen the
Yeah.
Shanahans and the McVays and all
Or
that,
with the
right?
Eagles like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, right. It has to happen this year.
Yeah.
I don't think and I know maybe they get healthy and whatever in the years to come. Maybe it's a better situation as far as like player wise, but as far as preparedness and
Yes, having everything together.
schematics and schemes and those kinds of things, it has to happen this year.
So you think that pressure is your point that the pressure plays against them? Or you
No,
think they thrive in it? Because I kind
I
of feel
think
like they thrive in it. They've got the right coach for that.
I think it's extra motivation for the players because I think not the writings on the wall. I don't want to be dismissive of their team because they have a ton of talent, especially when they are healthy. But to me, it seems like it has to happen. OCs, DCs can be replaceable, but we're talking top tier in the league
Yeah.
that they're going to be able to.
Having everything together.
Both of those guys are probably 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 3 on everybody's list of who they want to hire.
Yeah, especially Ben Johnson.
So to me, I think it might give them a little bit more motivation. And I don't know if that's the difference or not. I'm just saying it seems to me like this year needs to be the year because I actually want to pick the Eagles.
Yeah.
And it's the same
I
reason.
think the Rams could very likely beat the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they
I
look
said
good.
like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was like, they're all because when they were bad, they were injured. They didn't have Cup or Nakua. And they started coming on, and I was like, man, they're going to win a playoff game. They're going to win at least one playoff game and ruin somebody's life. And they already did that. And I don't know, the Eagles, the Packers, not to, that you wanted to talk about the Packers, but the Packers defense played really, really well in that game. Either that or, their scheme figured out a way to contain Barkley because Barkley ran for 100, but he carried like 25 times in order to get it.
Yeah.
So they didn't super impress me or the Eagles offense didn't super impress me unless the Packers defense was just that good. And I don't know if it was. I think the Packers have a fringe top 10 defense, but I think they looked a little vulnerable on offense. Hurts is still coming off the concussion and all that. I don't know. I could see the Rams spoiling that game too. I could. I think the Lions would then beat the Rams though pretty easily.
I think it's going to be either Detroit or Eagles. And it's kind of the same reason I like the Ravens. To me, the Eagles are more of a complete team, and their line play is really good. I think the Packers defense is, to me, I think they're better than what you said. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but those two, like I really want to kind of go Eagles, but just this whole needs to be now for Detroit is kind of messing with my head. So I don't know who I'm going to take in the NFC.
That's a good take. I think what we all want is Bills versus Lions because then you've got those two fan bases that are both like blue collar, never won a Super Bowl, and then you send them to New Orleans.
That would be the storyline.
That'd be the bet. That's the ideal scenario is Bills Lions battle for the first ever Super Bowl with a bunch of crazy ass fans.
Yeah, and I'm a Packers guy, so I have to hate the Lions, but I don't really hate the Lions. Like, how could you, right? Because it is sort of that blue collar mentality, and with the head coach and him being that way, and golf, sort of being the same way. It's their team, chemistry, and it feels very cohesive. How could you not root for a team like that and a fan base like that that's been through it?
Yeah, and kind of the same feeling. Like, I definitely want the Bills to beat the Ravens, but I feel like Lamar deserves a Super Bowl. Like, I'm okay saying that. You know what I mean? I think Josh deserves a Super Bowl, and I think Lamar deserves a Super Bowl. Mahomes has just been there they were just born on the wrong year, But if they can get past Mahomes, I'd be okay with the Ravens if they beat the Bills winning the Super Bowl because I feel like he deserves it. I feel like Derrick Henry deserves it too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of with you, though. I think that storyline of Bills
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 Lions would
Mafia,
just be the best. It would be the best.
Bills Lions,
Yeah,
man.
those the Super Bowl week, whatever day starts after the media day, it would just be chaos in New Orleans. Be great.
Oh yeah.
Plus, I think the game would be fantastic too. Obviously,
I like the teams that are still in it. Sometimes that's not always the
yeah.
case. Sometimes there's teams where you're like, kind of like college football.
Saints again. Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. I don't know if they should be here. But I like the teams that are in it for sure. I think the Vikings weren't as good as people thought. They just, if you actually so I watched them very, very closely throughout the year. There were times where you'd be like, is this the same team that I see all the
yeah.
highlights and all that? Like they were definitely
They
exposed
were,
and
yeah, like streaky almost. Like when
yeah.
they were really good, they were really good. Both sides of the
Mhm.
ball, defense, especially like they're in the middle part of the season. They're like 6-1, 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, like that era. They were talking about Kevin O'Connell for coach of the year. Like they were
Mhm.
fired up. And they've only lost to the Lions and the Rams both twice. I don't know if you call the Rams elite, but they kind of got owned in those, big time, prime time matchups.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Again,
wasn't a good showing.
no.
One more. I know we got to get off here. I definitely have to get off here, but I want to talk about one more thing real quick.
Okay.
Mike Tomlin. I cannot believe. So I understand the big game and the playoffs and all that. To me, and I'm going to steal Rex Ryan's quote here. I think anyway, he should be considered for coach of the year. And I hear people talking about him getting traded to some other team, which is
Trading Tomlin?
insane. Yeah, because he hasn't. He's got that stipulation in his contract or whatever. He would actually need to be traded,
Yeah.
and approve it. He would have to be okay with it.
No
So,
trade clause.
so the team that he had, and I know they lost the last 5 games. I know the end of the year was rough, and there's all kinds of turmoil, and with the OC and Russell Wilson and all that. He should be considered for coach of the year for what he did with that team. And I can't believe that people are even having this conversation of like he needs to be fired. It just blows my mind. His always winning seasons for however many years is insane. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like close to 20 now, I think. It's like 18 or 19 or something.
that take I can't get behind. Again, I understand the playoffs and wanting to win the big game and the history with winning championships in Pittsburgh, but how many coaches out there and how many teams and fan bases would take a winning season?
Yeah.
And he's had a million of them. So I
Well,
don't know.
we had this, if you remember, we had the same exact narrative last season when the season ended. This was before he had a new contract, and they were like, are they going to re-sign him? Do you
Yeah.
remember that whole thing? Would he fit with anybody else? They were even talking about where would he go? It got as far as those conversations. So, and a lot of it was from Steelers fan backlash, and it's just happening again because well, I guess it's a little bit of recency stuff because they just lost again. But I also, no, I'm with you because especially in the last decade or since Ben left, they haven't had great teams. And more importantly, they haven't had great defenses. I know, TJ Watt's a freak of nature. They've been better in the last couple seasons, but at least in that last decade, I can't think of a top 5 defense. They weren't just owning shit. So he's getting his teams to win, but I understand that frustration of we're only good enough to be this good, though. Like we're good enough to make the playoffs, but we're only good enough to lose in the first round for 6 straight seasons or whatever it's been. So like I understand that, but I feel like mostly, he's a player's coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I know everybody loves him, but he's still part of a system that was created by this pretty good. They're always good enough to make the playoffs, but they're never bad enough to draft a good quarterback because they
Yeah.
have found a solution since Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
So you're always good enough to make the playoffs with whoever you got, but you're not good enough to fill it. So, they tried with Kenny Pickett. That didn't work. And he was a 2nd-round pick anyway, I think, or maybe even a 3rd-round pick. I don't remember. But other than that, it's been plug and play veterans, and that's got to be hard to do. I know Russ looked good at some points this season. I still think he mostly looked bad and he's washed. But, it's just been guy after guy since Roethlisberger, and they're a product of that because it's just hard to land a big free agent
Yeah.
quarterback. That doesn't really happen in the NFL.
Yeah. If
Very
you're,
rarely, maybe via trade, like the Cousins thing, but I don't know. Like they need if they had a quarterback, even like Justin Herbert or somebody, I think it'd be a much different story. But coach of the year, I don't know. Who else would
yeah.
be coach of the year? O'Connell or Campbell or
Well, I think Campbell deserves it. He's got to
McDermott
get
of
it.
the Bills deserves a lot of credit too because they forced turnovers on defense. The rosters they lost all kinds of people. Like he's a way better coach than he gets credit for too.
My vote's Campbell just because he has to get it. He has to get it at some point.
The Lions just have to get everything this year.
Yeah.
He's got to
Yeah.
do it. They're going to do it all.
And I say coach of the year with Tomlin. That's a little bit of a stretch, but man, what
He's
you,
the most like respected man in the NFL, probably.
and you're right. Like they're always above average. They're not great and they're not really bad. So as far as like retooling a team or getting some special player, I think he plays the hand that he's dealt, with player acquisition and development or whatever. And that's
Yeah.
a
Well,
little
I
bit.
heard he signs off on every free agent, every draft pick. Everything has to go through him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like from a player standpoint, like they might give him three options, but I don't know. That's what I'd heard somebody talk about that he has final say, and it sounded like they knew what they were talking about. So
Well, I never sign off on the two quarterback system, but I actually think they should have
they
done
could have
more
done
of
it.
that.
Yeah. A
It's
lot of
the
the plays
one.
that they brought Fields in for, even in the playoff game, was passing play.
Yeah, I think they could have really
RPOs.
kind of, and why carry two starters?
Yeah.
I know you didn't really know what you were getting kind of with both, really. I mean,
Well, they were playing Russ as a backup because that only cost him $1 million or whatever it was. The Broncos ate the rest.
yeah, oh gosh.
So it's almost like they were paying Fields as the starter.
Yeah, and he's sitting yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. He takes so much heat. I don't think it's fully deserved. He's Hall of Fame.
Yeah. A lot of those are frustrated Pittsburgh fans that won another Super Bowl.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. But I think, Lions Bills. Let's go with Lions Bills.
I'm down for that.
Everybody
That'd
would
be
be happy to
fun.
watch that game. And I don't feel like you hate the Lions.
No.
Like you hate the Bears, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
hate the Lions. You just dislike them a lot. They've got some likable guys in their team.
No, I want to see my buddy Scott Cavey win one.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
He's one of those guys. He's been through it.
Yeah, he's been through it all.
Man. He's been through it, and I can appreciate guys like that. So I'd love that for my buddy Scott. No, I don't hate that at all. I would like to see that. That'd be a lot of fun. I want it to be fun. I want it to be a good game and fun.
Yeah. All right.
You don't always get that though.
No, you don't.
They kind of how like if you're a drinker, New Year's Eve is amateur hour.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Super Bowl is for like casuals, right? Like the actual
Yeah.
hardcore football fans, they love championship weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Back-to-back games. That Sunday, championship Sunday. Yeah, you really can't beat it. Because you get the whole Super Bowl picture in the matter of like 6 hours of violence.
Yeah. And the teams are solid, good. They've all earned the right to be there, and
Yeah.
at least a couple of them is going to be the top. At least a couple of them is going to be like, oh yeah, maybe even a preseason favorite, like, oh yeah, they're going to be there. The Chiefs or whatever. Rarely is it so many teams that you're like, they kind of just snuck
Oh,
their
they
way
make
in.
it in there.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Except for your Packers in 2010. They were a 6 seed
Yeah, that's
in the
right.
Super Bowl. All road games. Still one of the most impressive runs in playoff history was that Packers team.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowl though, and me and Melody are big fans, and we said if the Packers would make it this year, we're not having people over.
we're tuning in.
Yeah,
Dialing
locked in, locked in. We're not handing out treats and candy and all these. No, that's for the serious ones. So the
That
Super Bowl is amateur hour.
that 2010 Super Bowl run was Aaron Rodgers' sixth season, like from draft. So his third season playing, which would be Jordan Love's season next season.
I do like the future.
You need some corners. The corners suck, especially with Jair out. Keyshawn Nixon and who's the other guy? Valentine. They're not getting it done.
Yeah,
But the draft is up here, which is cool.
really?
That's this year. Yeah. I mean, I know you knew it was in Green Bay, and I think everybody knew that. It's just kind of snuck up on us. So it's in April.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that announcement and
That's a
being
big
all
deal. I
excited
don't know how
about
they're
it.
going to house all those people. Some people are going to have to like drive RVs or something. There's not enough space in Green Bay hotels. They're going to be down here probably staying.
Man, we should
Driving
go
up
to
for it.
that. We should go to that.
You're a stockholder. You own the team.
Yeah,
right?
I do. Hey, that's my team you're talking about. Of course I knew that.
Yeah.
Of course I knew.
We're hosting the draft, not
Yeah.
they. We're hosting the draft.
I am an owner. Yeah. Guilty. Guilty. I own the Packers, so.
So
All right, buddy.
that should be fun. All right, let's sign off. Thanks for hanging out, Mox. Thanks for everybody who watched. Go watch all our content. It only keeps getting better and better and better. We appreciate you. Good night.
All right, bud. See you, man.